Hi guys, long before the sun rises above the eastern horizon, the Nile River is already awake. The water moves slowly through the darkness. Small waves brush against muddy banks. Tall reeds sway gently beside the shore. The river is never completely silent. Even during the quietest hours, it breathes softly through the landscape. For many Egyptians, life begins with the river. A fisherman sleeping inside a simple house opens his eyes while the stars still shine overhead. His home is small. Its walls are built from mud mixed with straw and dried beneath the sun. The roof is flat. The floor is hard-packed earth. Several members of his family sleep nearby. The room is warm from the heat stored in the walls throughout the previous day. Slowly he rises. His joints ache slightly. Yesterday's work still lingers inside his muscles. Outside, the village remains dark. A few small oil lamps flicker in doorways. The smell of ashes drifts from cooking fires that have long since faded. The fisherman walks toward the river. His sandals scrape softly across dusty ground. Above him, the stars begin to fade. Soon another day will begin. For thousands of years, this rhythm remains familiar. People wake before sunrise. Work begins early. The hottest hours arrive later. Life follows patterns shaped by nature itself. The Nile determines nearly everything. Its annual flooding brings rich soil. Its water supports crops. Its channels provide transportation. Its fish provide food. Without the river, Egypt would be a narrow strip of life surrounded by endless desert. As dawn slowly approaches, more people begin to stir. A farmer opens his door and steps outside. The sky in the east glows faintly. His fields wait beyond the village. Much of his life is measured by planting and harvesting. He knows the seasons of the river better than he knows the passage of years. His father knew them. His grandfather knew them. His children will learn them as well. The soil near the Nile is dark and fertile. When floodwaters retreat, they leave behind fresh layers of rich mud. This gift allows crops to grow in a landscape that otherwise appears dry and unforgiving. The farmer begins walking. Other figures emerge from nearby homes. Few words are spoken. The morning is peaceful. People save their energy for the labor ahead. Soon the first sunlight touches the tops of distant palm trees. Golden light spreads slowly across the land. Birds begin calling from the reeds. The river sparkles. Another day has arrived. Throughout Egypt, countless villages awaken in similar ways. Some are little more than clusters of homes. Others are larger settlements filled with craftsmen and merchants. Yet many share familiar features. Narrow paths wind between houses. Storage jars stand near doorways. Children play in open spaces. Animals move through the streets. Goats bleat softly. Donkeys wait patiently for work. Life is simple but busy. Every household has responsibilities. Every member contributes something. Even young children often help with daily tasks. A mother kneels beside a grinding stone. She begins preparing grain. The work is repetitive. Her hands move in practiced motions developed over many years. Grinding grain takes time. Bread forms the foundation of many meals. Without it, daily life becomes difficult. Soon flour gathers beside the stone. The smell of fresh dough will later fill the house. Nearby, another woman carries water from the river. The container is heavy. She balances it carefully. This task may be repeated several times throughout the day. Water is needed for cooking, cleaning, drinking, and countless other activities. The work never truly ends. Yet these routines become familiar companions throughout life. The people of ancient Egypt often lived according to cycles that changed little from day to day. The rising sun, the morning meal, the walk to the fields, the labor beneath the heat, the return home at dusk, the evening meal, sleep. Then the cycle begins once more. As sunlight grows stronger, workshops gradually open. Craftsmen begin their work. A potter prepares clay. His fingers press into cool earth gathered from riverbanks. Slowly a vessel takes shape. The movement is calm and steady. He has created hundreds before. Perhaps thousands. Many will carry grain. Others will hold water. Some will store oil. Simple objects become essential parts of everyday life. Nearby, a carpenter begins shaping wood. Wood is valuable in Egypt. Large forests are uncommon. Much timber must be carefully used. Nothing is wasted. Every piece has purpose. The carpenter's tools are simple. His work requires patience. Slowly a stool emerges from rough materials. A merchant may purchase it. A household may use it for years. Perhaps even generations. Meanwhile, scribes begin their own day. Among ordinary workers, scribes occupy a unique place. They spend less time performing physical labor. Instead, they work with records, numbers, and written language. Writing remains a specialized skill. Not everyone can read. Not everyone can write. The ability requires training and practice. A young apprentice sits beside an experienced scribe. He copies symbols carefully. Mistakes must be corrected. His hand grows tired. Yet he continues. Education demands discipline. Many parents dream of seeing their children become scribes. The profession often offers shelter from the hardest physical work. But even scribes face long hours. Their responsibilities are important. Records help organize taxes, supplies, harvests, and labor projects. Without these records, the vast machinery of Egyptian society becomes more difficult to manage. As the morning advances, the temperature rises. The cool air of dawn disappears. Heat begins spreading across the fields. Farmers continue working. Sweat forms on their skin. Their clothing is light, but the sun grows stronger with every passing hour. Some guide simple plows. Others clear weeds. Others repair irrigation channels. Each task contributes to the success of future harvests. Life depends upon successful crops. A poor harvest creates hardship. A good harvest brings stability. The connection between labor and survival remains direct and clear. No one forgets it. By midday, sunlight dominates everything. The sky appears vast and bright. The desert beyond the fertile land shimmers beneath the heat. Air seems to tremble above distant ground. Workers search for shade whenever possible. Some rest beneath trees. Others sit beside walls. Meals are simple. Bread, beer, vegetables, fish when available, dates and figs when in season. The food provides energy needed for long hours of labor. Conversations remain quiet. People are tired. The heat encourages stillness. Even animals slow their movements. For a brief time, the world seems to pause beneath the blazing sun. Yet work soon resumes. Fields must be maintained. Buildings must be repaired. Goods must be transported. The hidden structure of Egyptian life depends upon countless ordinary actions repeated day after day. Most of these actions never appear in official records. No monument celebrates a woman carrying water. No giant statue honors a farmer repairing a canal. No temple wall describes every loaf of bread baked before sunrise. Yet these tasks matter deeply. Together they sustain the entire civilization. As afternoon slowly unfolds, shadows lengthen across the ground. The worst of the heat begins to fade. People find renewed energy. Boats travel along the Nile carrying goods between settlements. Merchants inspect their cargo. Bundles of grain. Jars of oil. Baskets of vegetables. Fish preserved with salt. Everything moves through networks created by river travel. The Nile serves as both road and lifeline. Its waters connect distant communities. A traveler drifting downstream experiences changing landscapes. Palm groves appear and disappear. Villages emerge beside the shore. Children wave from riverbanks. Farmers work nearby fields. The rhythm of life continues everywhere. And as evening approaches, a different atmosphere settles across the land. The sunlight softens. The air cools. Workers begin returning home. Dust rises beneath their feet. Their bodies are tired. Their muscles ache. Many have been active since before sunrise. Yet there is comfort in returning home. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Families gather together. The smell of baking bread drifts through narrow streets. Voices fill the evening air. Children play. Neighbors talk quietly. Animals settle for the night. The day's labor gradually fades into memory. Inside homes, meals are prepared. Simple food becomes deeply satisfying after long hours of work. People eat slowly. They share stories. They discuss tomorrow's tasks. Life may be difficult, but moments of peace still exist. The darkness deepens. Stars appear once more above Egypt. The river reflects tiny points of light. A fisherman repairs his nets. A scribe reviews notes by lamplight. A mother prepares sleeping spaces for her children. Across villages and towns, countless small routines unfold. Each one is ordinary. Each one is easily overlooked. Yet together they form the hidden structure of ancient Egyptian life. And as night settles fully across the Nile Valley, the sounds of the day gradually fade away. The workshops become quiet. The roads empty. The fields rest beneath the moonlight. Only the gentle movement of river water continues through the darkness. And somewhere beyond the sleeping villages, the desert waits silently beneath the stars. The night deepens over the Nile Valley. A silver moon hangs above the river. Its light falls softly across quiet water and smooth stone walls that still hold traces of the day's warmth. Most homes are silent now. Families sleep close together beneath simple coverings. The sounds of conversation have faded. Cooking fires have become glowing embers. Only an occasional murmur drifts through the darkness before disappearing again. For many people in ancient Egypt, sleep comes quickly. The body is tired after long hours of labor. Hands ache from carrying, lifting, grinding, digging, weaving, and building. Feet are sore from walking dusty roads beneath the sun. The day's work leaves little room for restless nights. In a small village beside the Nile, a farmer turns quietly in his sleep. Tomorrow will look much like today. And the day after that may look much the same as well. This rhythm is not unusual. For countless generations, life has followed familiar paths. The river rises. The river falls. Seeds are planted. Crops are harvested. Children grow older. Parents become grandparents. Years pass like water flowing gently downstream. Long before dawn, while the sky is still dark, the first signs of movement begin again. A rooster calls somewhere beyond the village. A donkey shifts its weight near a wall. A cool breeze moves through narrow streets lined with mud brick homes. The desert air feels gentle now. Soon enough, the heat will return. But for this brief moment before sunrise, the world seems calm and comfortable. A woman wakes before the rest of her household. She sits quietly for a moment. The room is dim. Only faint moonlight reaches the floor. She listens to the steady breathing of her children. Outside, the village remains asleep. Slowly she stands. Her day begins before anyone else notices. This is often how life unfolds. Many tasks happen before the sun appears. Grain must be prepared. Water must be gathered. Bread must be baked. The foundation of daily life is built during these quiet hours. She steps outside carrying a small basket. The ground feels cool beneath her sandals. Above her, the stars are beginning to fade. Far away, a pale line appears along the eastern horizon. Morning is approaching. Nearby, another household is waking as well. A young boy follows his father toward the river. He is learning. Not through books or lessons written on papyrus. He learns by watching. By carrying small tools. By observing the work that surrounds him every day. Knowledge often passes from one generation to the next in this way. Skills travel through families. A fisherman teaches fishing. A farmer teaches farming. A carpenter teaches woodworking. A potter teaches clay work. Children grow into the world they see around them. The river glows softly as dawn arrives. Mist rises above the water. Birds begin calling from the reeds. The first sunlight touches the tops of distant trees. Another day begins. The village slowly comes alive. Doors open. People emerge into the fresh morning air. Voices grow louder. Animals stir. Smoke rises from cooking fires. The smell of baking bread drifts through the streets. For many Egyptians, bread is more than food. It is a constant companion throughout life. The process begins with grain harvested from fields along the Nile. The grain is dried, stored, ground into flour, mixed into dough, and baked inside simple ovens. Each step requires effort. Each loaf represents many hours of labor. A family may spend a large portion of its time simply producing the food needed to survive. Yet these routines become familiar. People rarely think of them as extraordinary. They are simply part of life. As sunlight spreads across the landscape, workers move toward their daily responsibilities. The roads begin to fill. Some lead animals. Others carry baskets. Some balance jars upon their heads. Many travel on foot. Dust rises beneath hundreds of sandals. The roads themselves are often simple paths shaped by years of use. People know them well. They connect villages, fields, workshops, and markets. Every day they carry the movement of countless ordinary lives. Near one larger settlement, a market is beginning to form. Merchants arrive carrying goods from different places. They arrange baskets and jars carefully. Soon customers begin appearing. The market becomes a place of exchange. Not only for goods, but for news and conversation as well. People learn about distant villages. They hear stories from travelers. They discuss harvests, weather, and family matters. The sounds of bargaining drift through the morning air. Nothing feels rushed. The pace remains steady. A basket changes hands. A jar of oil is exchanged. Fresh vegetables are inspected carefully. Life continues through countless small interactions. Nearby, craftsmen begin another day of work. The workshop is already warm. Clay vessels line the walls. Tools rest where they were left the previous evening. Light enters through narrow openings. Dust floats through the air. A potter sits before his wheel. His hands are rough from years of labor. He places a lump of clay before him. Slowly it begins to turn. His fingers guide the shape. The movement is smooth and practiced. There is no need to hurry. The clay responds patiently. Vessel after vessel emerges throughout the day. Some will travel only a short distance. Others may find their way far along the river. The potter does not know where every piece will go. Yet his work becomes part of many households he will never see. Across town, builders are already active. Construction never truly stops. Walls require repair. Storage buildings require maintenance. New structures appear as communities grow. Most buildings are made from mud brick. The materials are practical. Mud from the Nile is mixed with straw and shaped into bricks. Then the sun does the rest. Thousands upon thousands of bricks form homes, workshops, walls, and storehouses. Builders work steadily. The labor is demanding. Bricks are heavy. The sun grows stronger with each passing hour. Sweat gathers on foreheads. Muscles strain beneath loads. Yet the work continues. Egypt is built not only from stone monuments. It is built from countless ordinary bricks shaped by ordinary hands. Far from the workshops and markets, farmers are already in the fields. The land beside the Nile appears green and fertile. Beyond it, the desert stretches outward in shades of gold and brown. The contrast is striking. Life flourishes along the river's edge. Every drop of water matters. Irrigation channels carry water where it is needed. These channels require constant attention. Mud accumulates. Banks collapse. Repairs must be made. Workers move carefully through the fields. Some carry tools over their shoulders. Others guide animals. The smell of wet earth fills the air. It is a familiar scent. A comforting scent. One that signals life and possibility. The harvest remains months away. Yet the future harvest begins with today's work. Seeds require care. Water requires management. The smallest neglect may create larger problems later. So the labor continues day after day. The sun climbs higher. Shadows shorten. The air grows heavy. By midday, heat settles across the valley like a blanket. Workers wipe sweat from their faces. Some pause briefly beneath whatever shade they can find. A tree. A wall. The side of a building. Even a small patch of shadow becomes valuable. Meals are eaten quietly. Bread is shared. Water is carefully consumed. Conversation slows. The heat encourages stillness. Insects buzz lazily through the air. The river continues flowing as it always has. For a few moments, the pace of life softens. Then work begins again. Not everyone spends the day outdoors. Inside administrative buildings, scribes sit with papyrus sheets spread before them. Their work requires concentration. Numbers must be recorded correctly. Supplies must be tracked. Deliveries must be noted. A mistake can create confusion later. The room is warm despite efforts to keep it cool. Light enters through narrow openings. Reed pens move carefully across papyrus. Ink dries quickly in the heat. A young apprentice watches an older scribe. He studies each movement. he hopes to master the same skills one day. Learning takes years. Patience is required. Precision is required. Writing carries great importance within Egyptian society. Records help organize a world filled with people, resources, and responsibilities. Yet even here, among written records and careful calculations, the work remains part of the same hidden structure. A farmer in the field. A baker beside an oven. A fisherman upon the river. A scribe with his pen. Each depends upon the others. Each contributes something necessary. As afternoon begins, activity along the Nile increases. Boats move steadily across the water. Some travel north. Others move south. Their sails catch the wind. Cargo fills their decks. Grain. Stone. Pottery. Textiles. Wooden goods. Fish packed carefully for transport. The river acts as a living road connecting communities across vast distances. Travelers spend long hours aboard these vessels. They watch villages drift past. Palm trees sway along the shore. Children splash near the water's edge. Farmers work nearby fields. The landscape changes slowly. Everything feels connected by the gentle movement of the Nile. On one boat, a merchant sits beneath a simple canopy. The shade offers relief from the afternoon sun. His journey may last several days. Travel requires patience. Distances unfold gradually. There are no shortcuts. The river determines the pace. Yet there is a certain peace in such travel. Water laps softly against wood. Wind fills the sail. The world passes quietly by. Back in the villages, the day slowly moves toward evening. Shadows lengthen once again. The harsh brightness of midday begins to fade. Workers notice the change immediately. Bodies that felt heavy beneath the heat begin to feel lighter. The air becomes easier to breathe. Energy returns. Tasks are finished. Tools are gathered. Animals are led home. The roads fill once more with people returning from their work. Dust rises beneath their feet. Children run to greet parents. Neighbors exchange quiet words. Cooking fires begin appearing across the settlement. The smell of bread returns. So does the smell of onions, herbs, and roasting fish. Evening is one of the gentlest times of day. Labor relaxes its grip. Families gather together. Light softens. The sky turns shades of gold and orange. Then slowly toward purple. Then blue. Then darkness. Lamps flicker inside homes. Shadows dance upon mud-brick walls. Meals are shared. Stories are told. Some people repair tools. Others mend clothing. Some simply rest. The body welcomes stillness after hours of effort. Outside, the village gradually becomes quieter. Animals settle. Children grow sleepy. Conversations become softer. One by one, lamps disappear into the darkness. Above, the stars return. The same stars that shone over countless generations before. The same stars watched by farmers, fishermen, merchants, builders, and scribes. The river reflects their light. Gentle waves move through the night. The cool air returns. Somewhere a fisherman prepares his nets for tomorrow. Somewhere a baker sleeps before another early morning. Somewhere a tired worker closes his eyes and drifts into deep rest. And all across Egypt, beneath the peaceful night sky, the hidden structure of daily life continues to breathe softly beside the endless waters of the Nile. The Nile moves through the darkness with quiet certainty. Long after the last lamps have gone out, long after the evening conversations have faded into silence, the river continues its endless journey through the heart of Egypt. The water does not sleep. It glides past villages and fields. It passes temples and storehouses. It flows beside homes where entire families rest after another day of labor. The moon hangs low above the valley. Its pale light touches the surface of the water and turns it silver. The reeds along the shoreline sway gently. Small creatures move through the darkness. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls once before falling silent again. The night feels calm. It feels ancient. And beneath this quiet sky, thousands of ordinary people sleep. Many rest on woven mats. Some sleep on simple wooden frames. Others lie upon blankets spread across flat rooftops where the cooler night air provides relief from the day's heat. Throughout Egypt, homes vary in size. Some belong to wealthier families. Others are small and crowded. Yet most people experience similar nights. The day's work leaves little energy for anything else. Sleep arrives naturally. The body welcomes it. A farmer who spent the day clearing irrigation channels closes his tired eyes. His hands are rough. His shoulders ache. Tomorrow will bring more work. But for now, there is only rest. Nearby, a potter sleeps in a house filled with finished vessels waiting to be sold. In another neighborhood, a baker rests after rising before dawn to prepare bread. Across the village, a fisherman dreams beside nets hanging neatly from a wall. Each person carries different responsibilities. Yet all are connected by the same rhythms of life. The same rising sun. The same river. The same cycle of labor and rest. Hours pass quietly. Then, little by little, the darkness begins to soften. At first, the change is almost impossible to notice. The stars lose a small portion of their brightness. The eastern horizon grows pale. The world slowly prepares for another day. Ancient Egypt is a civilization built upon routine. Many of its greatest achievements depend not on sudden moments, but on countless repeated actions. One day alone means very little. A single season means little. But years of labor create fields. Generations of labor create cities. Centuries of labor create a civilization. As dawn approaches, movement begins once more. A woman wakes before her family. She sits quietly in the dim light. The house remains still. Children sleep nearby. The air feels cool against the mud-brick walls. For a few moments she enjoys the silence. Soon the day will become busy. Soon there will be grain to grind and meals to prepare. Water to carry. Clothing to wash. Repairs to make. But for now, there is peace. Outside, the first birds begin singing. Their calls drift across the village. One by one, doors open. Figures emerge into the morning air. The sky brightens. Soft gold appears above the horizon. The Nile catches the first sunlight and begins to glow. A fisherman walks toward the river carrying his net. The path is familiar. He has walked it thousands of times. His father walked it before him. His grandfather likely did the same. The river provides food for countless communities. Fish appear often in the Egyptian diet. Fresh fish. Dried fish. Salted fish stored for later use. For many families, fishing helps fill the gap between harvests. It offers another source of security in a world where survival depends on careful planning. The fisherman reaches the shore. Mist rises gently above the water. The river looks peaceful. Its surface reflects the brightening sky. Nearby, several small boats wait along the bank. They are simple vessels. Practical. built for daily work rather than comfort. The fisherman pushes one into the water. Soon the boat drifts quietly into the current. The only sounds are the splash of an oar and the distant calls of waking birds. Back in the village, another day begins in the baker's courtyard. Before sunrise, grain is already being prepared. Grinding stones move steadily. The work requires patience and strength. Hour after hour, grain is crushed into fine flour. The sound becomes part of daily life. A soft scraping rhythm repeated across Egypt for centuries. Many homes contain grinding stones. Women often spend a significant portion of their lives using them. The labor is demanding. Arms grow tired. Shoulders become sore. Yet the work remains necessary. Bread is at the center of daily meals. Without it, families face hardship. The dough is mixed carefully. Water is added. The baker kneads it with practiced hands. Soon the smell of fresh bread begins spreading through the neighborhood. It drifts through open doorways. It mixes with the scent of dust, clay, and river air. For many people, this smell marks the true beginning of the day. Children wake. Families gather. Simple breakfasts are shared before work begins. As sunlight spreads across the valley, activity increases everywhere. The roads fill with movement. Farmers head toward the fields. Craftsmen unlock workshops. Merchants prepare their goods. Servants begin household duties. The hidden structure of Egyptian life awakens once more. Near the edge of the village, a group of children follows an older man toward the fields. Some are old enough to help. Others simply observe. Learning often happens through participation. Children watch adults work. They imitate what they see. Over time, small tasks become larger responsibilities. A boy who carries tools today may guide a plow years from now. A girl helping prepare bread may eventually oversee an entire household. Life unfolds gradually. Knowledge passes quietly from one generation to the next. No formal ceremony marks most of these transitions. They happen naturally. The seasons themselves teach important lessons. The Nile's annual flood is one of the greatest influences upon Egyptian life. When the waters rise, they transform the landscape. Fields disappear beneath broad sheets of water. Villages watch carefully. People understand that the flood brings both challenge and opportunity. When the waters eventually retreat, they leave behind rich black soil. This soil supports future harvests. Without it, farming becomes much more difficult. The flood shapes schedules. It shapes labor. It shapes expectations. Nearly everyone depends upon it in some way. A farmer standing beside his field understands this deeply. He watches the condition of the soil. He notices changes in moisture. He studies the growth of crops. His survival depends upon paying attention. Many farmers possess knowledge gathered through years of observation. They know when to plant. They know when to irrigate. They know when to harvest. Their wisdom often comes not from written records but from experience. The land teaches its own lessons. As the morning continues, the temperature rises steadily. The cool comfort of dawn fades away. Heat begins spreading across the valley. Workers feel it immediately. Clothing grows damp with sweat. Skin warms beneath the sunlight. The air itself seems heavier. Yet work continues. The demands of daily life do not pause because of heat. Near a construction site, builders carry bricks across open ground. The work is slow and methodical. Each brick adds a little more height to a wall. Each completed wall becomes part of a larger structure. The labor may appear simple, but it requires coordination, planning, endurance. Many of Egypt's buildings emerge through thousands of such small efforts. Not dramatic moments. Not sudden bursts of activity. Just steady work repeated day after day. A young laborer wipes sweat from his forehead. He pauses briefly before lifting another load. Nearby, older workers continue at a measured pace. Years of experience have taught them how to conserve energy, how to survive the heat, how to work without exhausting themselves too quickly. The sun climbs higher. The shadows shrink. The bright sky stretches endlessly overhead. By midday, the valley seems wrapped in light. Even the river sparkles intensely. The heat reaches into every corner of daily life. Animals seek shade. People move more slowly. Work continues, but with greater caution. A merchant sitting beneath a cloth canopy drinks water carefully. His goods are arranged nearby. Baskets of vegetables. Jars of oil. Bundles of woven cloth. Customers continue arriving despite the heat. Life does not stop. Trade remains important. Markets serve as meeting places as much as centers of exchange. People share news. Discuss harvests. Arrange marriages. Settle disagreements. Reconnect with distant relatives. The market becomes one of the social centers of Egyptian life. Voices drift through the warm air. The sounds blend together into a steady murmur. Nothing feels hurried. The pace remains patient. Elsewhere, inside a larger home, servants move quietly through shaded rooms. Their responsibilities vary. Some carry water. Some clean floors. Some prepare meals. Others assist wealthier families with daily needs. Service requires attention and discipline. The work often begins early and ends late. Many servants spend long hours on their feet. Yet they, too, form part of the hidden structure that supports society. Every task matters. Every responsibility connects to another. A household functions because someone fetches water. A meal appears because someone prepares it. A building stands because someone built it. The visible world rests upon countless unseen efforts. As afternoon slowly unfolds, the light begins to soften. The harsh edge of midday gradually fades. Workers notice longer shadows stretching across the ground. Relief feels close. The air remains warm, but the most difficult hours have passed. In the fields, farmers complete final tasks before evening. Tools are gathered. Animals are guided home. Irrigation channels receive one last inspection. The day's labor slowly comes to an end. Along the river, fishermen return with their catches. Boats glide toward shore. Nets are checked. Fish are sorted. Some will be eaten immediately. Others will be preserved. Children often wait nearby, curious to see what the river has provided. The smell of water and fish mixes with the scent of mud and reeds. The river continues giving life as it has for countless generations. The sun moves lower. Golden light spreads across the landscape. Palm trees cast long shadows. The walls of homes glow softly. Dust floating in the air catches the sunlight and turns almost golden itself. It is one of the most beautiful moments of the day. Not because anything extraordinary happens, but because ordinary life slows. People begin returning home. The roads fill with tired workers. Voices grow warmer. The promise of rest lies ahead. Cooking fires appear once more. Thin streams of smoke rise into the evening sky. The smell of baking bread drifts through the village again. A familiar smell. A comforting smell. A smell that has greeted generations of Egyptians as they returned from the day's work. Families gather. Meals are shared. Stories are exchanged. Children speak about small adventures. Parents discuss tomorrow's responsibilities. Grandparents sit quietly nearby. The day's worries seem smaller in the gentle light of evening. And as darkness slowly returns to the Nile Valley, lamps begin to glow behind mud-brick walls. Their warm light flickers softly against stone floors and simple furniture. Outside, the river reflects the first stars of the night. The breeze cools. The sounds of labor disappear one by one. And ancient Egypt settles once more into the peaceful rhythm of evening, where tired workers rest, families draw close together, and the endless Nile continues flowing silently through the darkness. Night settles once again across the Nile Valley. The last traces of sunlight have faded beyond the western horizon. A deep blue darkness stretches over the river, over the fields, and over the countless villages scattered along the fertile banks. The heat of the day slowly escapes from stone walls and packed earth. A cooler breeze drifts across the water. Palm leaves rustle softly. The sounds of work are gone now. No grinding stones scrape against grain. No merchants call from market stalls. No builders lift bricks beneath the sun. For a little while, Egypt rests. A few lamps still glow behind small windows. Their warm light spills gently onto narrow pathways. Inside one home, a family sits together after their evening meal. The room is simple. Its walls are smooth mud brick. Storage jars stand against one side of the room. Bundles of reeds hang from wooden beams. The air carries the faint smell of bread and smoke. The father leans against the wall. His body is tired from a day in the fields. His hands bear the marks of years spent working the soil. Nearby, his children listen as older relatives speak quietly about seasons long past. Stories move through generations in this way. Not through books. Not through records. But through voices. Memories are carried from one person to another. A child hears a story many times. Years later, that child tells the same story to someone else. The chain continues. Outside, the stars shine brightly. Without modern lights, the night sky appears immense. Thousands upon thousands of stars stretch from horizon to horizon. The Milky Way forms a pale band overhead. For many Egyptians, these stars are familiar companions. Night after night, they appear above the same villages and fields. Farmers notice them. Travelers follow them. Children gaze upward and wonder about them. The sky becomes part of everyday life. Far from the villages, the desert lies quiet beneath the moonlight. The sand seems almost silver. Rocky hills cast long shadows. The air feels still. Yet even here, life exists. Small animals move through the darkness. Desert foxes search for food. Insects emerge from hidden places. The night belongs to different creatures than the day. And while the fertile valley sleeps, the desert remains awake in its own quiet way. As midnight passes, Egypt becomes almost silent. Only the river continues its endless conversation with the land. Water brushes against muddy banks. Small waves ripple through the reeds. The Nile never stops moving. It flows through every hour of every day. Through years. Through centuries. Through entire lifetimes. Many people living beside the river spend little time thinking about its importance. It simply exists. It is always there. Like the sky above or the ground beneath their feet. Yet nearly every aspect of life depends upon it. The hidden structure of Egypt rests upon the steady flow of this river. Hours pass. The stars slowly turn overhead. Then, long before sunrise, movement begins once more. A baker wakes in darkness. The house is quiet. His family remains asleep. For a moment he sits still, listening to the distant sounds of the river. Then he stands and begins preparing for the day. Bread waits for no one. The work must begin early. Soon a small fire glows inside the baking area. Shadows dance across the walls. The baker measures grain. Mixes water. Prepares dough. His hands move automatically. Years of practice guide every motion. Outside, the sky remains dark. Most of the village still sleeps. Yet hidden within homes and workshops, countless people are already beginning another day. The earliest hours often belong to preparation. Work completed before sunrise makes the rest of the day possible. A woman grinds grain beside a stone. The repetitive movement is steady and familiar. A servant fills jars with water. A fisherman checks the condition of his nets. A merchant organizes goods that will later travel to market. None of these tasks attract attention. Few people speak of them. Yet they form the foundation of daily life. The larger world depends upon these quiet actions. As dawn approaches, the eastern horizon grows pale. Birdsong returns. The first rays of sunlight touch the tops of palm trees. Mist rises gently above the river. The air still feels cool. For a short time, the valley enjoys a peaceful calm before the heat arrives. Farmers emerge from their homes. Some carry simple tools. Others lead donkeys loaded with supplies. Many walk in silence. Their minds are already focused on the day's responsibilities. The roads begin filling with movement. Sandals scrape softly against packed earth. Dust rises behind travelers. The village awakens. Children stretch sleepily. Animals begin stirring. Doors open. Voices drift through the morning air. The smell of fresh bread spreads from house to house. Morning meals are often simple. Bread remains important. So do onions, dates, and beer made from grain. Food provides energy for the long hours ahead. Many workers eat quickly. There is much to do. The cool hours of morning are valuable. Every task completed before midday makes the afternoon easier. Near the river, fishermen push their boats into the water. The Nile looks beautiful beneath the rising sun. Its surface reflects shades of gold and pale blue. Birds skim across the water. Reeds sway gently along the shore. The fishermen move quietly. Their work requires patience. Sometimes the river is generous. Sometimes it is less so. Experience teaches them where fish gather. It teaches them how to read the movement of water. The river speaks through small signs. Those who spend their lives upon it learn to notice them. Further inland, farmers reach their fields. The smell of moist soil fills the air. Water glitters inside irrigation channels. The land near the Nile appears rich and alive. Green plants grow where careful labor and river water work together. Beyond this narrow fertile zone lies the desert. The contrast remains striking. One side offers life. The other offers silence and stone. The boundary between them is often surprisingly narrow. A person can walk from fertile fields into barren desert within a short time. This reality shapes Egyptian thinking. People understand how precious fertile land truly is. Every field matters. Every harvest matters. A successful harvest can bring comfort and stability. A poor harvest creates anxiety. The stakes are always present, even during peaceful years. As the morning progresses, workshops begin filling with activity. A weaver sits before a loom. Threads stretch tightly before her. Patiently she works them into cloth. The process requires concentration. The rhythmic movement becomes almost soothing. Hour after hour, fabric slowly grows. The finished cloth may become clothing, bedding, or trade goods. Nearby, another craftsman works with leather. A sandal maker cuts and shapes material into footwear. Egyptians walk great distances throughout their lives. Good sandals are useful possessions. Even simple objects require skill to produce. Nothing appears by accident. Everything begins with someone's labor. The hidden structure of society depends upon countless specialized tasks. A carpenter, a weaver, a potter, a baker, a fisherman, a farmer. Each contributes something essential. No single occupation stands alone. All are connected. Inside a larger administrative building, scribes are already busy. Papyrus sheets cover wooden tables. Reed pens rest beside small containers of ink. Sunlight enters through narrow openings high in the walls. The room feels warm but quieter than the workshops outside. Here, the labor is different. A scribe records deliveries of grain. Another tracks supplies destined for storehouses. Numbers are carefully checked. Mistakes can create confusion later. The work requires patience, attention, accuracy. Young apprentices observe from nearby positions. They practice symbols repeatedly. Some struggle. Others learn quickly. Becoming a skilled scribe takes time. Yet the profession offers opportunities unavailable to many laborers. Knowledge itself becomes a valuable tool. Across Egypt, literacy remains concentrated among a relatively small portion of the population. Most people learn through experience rather than written instruction. They understand seasons, crops, animals, and practical skills. Their knowledge is carried in memory and habit. Meanwhile, the scribes preserve information through writing. Together, both forms of knowledge support society. By midday, the heat returns. The sunlight becomes intense. The ground radiates warmth. Workers wipe sweat from their faces. Animals seek shade whenever possible. The entire valley seems to slow slightly. This is not laziness. It is wisdom. The climate demands respect. People learn to conserve energy during the hottest hours. A farmer pauses beneath a tree. Nearby, several workers sit beside an irrigation channel sharing a simple meal. Bread passes from hand to hand. Water is consumed carefully. Conversation remains quiet. The heat encourages stillness. Even the birds seem less active. For a little while, the world becomes calm beneath the blazing sky. Then slowly, work resumes again. A canal requires repair. A wall requires maintenance. A shipment must be prepared. The endless cycle continues. Not because anyone commands it every moment, but because daily life itself requires it. Each responsibility leads naturally to another. One completed task reveals the next. The hidden structure of ancient Egyptian life is not built from grand events. It is built from routines, from habits, from countless ordinary decisions repeated over generations. As afternoon begins its gradual journey toward evening, the shadows slowly lengthen. The worst heat begins to ease. Workers notice immediately. Breathing becomes easier. Movement feels lighter. The promise of evening approaches. And all across the Nile Valley, People continue their work beneath the golden sun, moving through familiar routines that have shaped their world for centuries, while the river flows quietly beside them, carrying the story of ordinary lives onward through time. The afternoon light grows softer across the Nile Valley. The fierce brightness of midday slowly begins to loosen its grip upon the land. Long shadows stretch across the fields. Palm trees cast dark patterns upon the ground. The air remains warm, but there is now a feeling of relief moving quietly through the villages and farms. Workers notice it immediately. The hardest hours of the day are passing. A farmer straightens his back and looks toward the west. The sun is still high, but its journey toward evening has begun. Around him, the fields rustle softly in the breeze. Rows of grain sway gently. The irrigation channels reflect the sky like ribbons of moving glass. The work is not finished. There is always more to do. Yet the approach of evening brings comfort. The body begins to think about rest. The mind begins to imagine home. Nearby, another farmer kneels beside a channel carrying water from the Nile. He studies the flow carefully. Water is precious. Every field depends upon it. Too little water can damage crops. Too much can create different problems. The management of water is one of the most important responsibilities in Egyptian life. Many people spend years learning how to read the land. They observe the condition of the soil. They notice subtle changes in moisture. They learn where water naturally gathers and where it disappears too quickly. This knowledge passes quietly from one generation to the next. A father teaches a son. A mother teaches a daughter. No written instructions are necessary. The land itself becomes the teacher. Along the river, boats continue their steady movement. Some travel with the current. Others rely upon sails catching favorable winds. Their journeys are rarely hurried. The Nile encourages patience. A traveler sitting aboard a boat has time to observe the landscape. Villages appear along the shore. Children run beside the water. Fishermen pull in nets. Women carry jars from the riverbank. Palm groves rise above clusters of mud-brick homes. Smoke drifts upward from cooking fires beginning to prepare for the evening meal. The river connects all these places. It carries people, goods, ideas, and stories. A merchant traveling north may hear news from distant settlements. A fisherman may learn about conditions further upstream. Information moves with the boats. The Nile becomes more than a source of water. It becomes a living pathway through the heart of Egypt. As the afternoon continues, activity increases within the markets. The most intense heat has passed. People feel more comfortable walking through open spaces. Merchants call out quietly to potential customers. Buyers inspect goods carefully. A basket of onions. A jar of oil. Fresh fish from the river. Woven cloth. Pottery shaped by skilled hands. Simple objects fill the market. Yet each one represents hours of labor. Someone planted the onions. Someone pressed the oil. Someone caught the fish. Someone spun the thread and wove the cloth. Someone gathered clay and shaped the pottery. The market reveals how deeply connected people's lives truly are. Every object tells a story of work. Every purchase links one household to another. A woman selecting a jar may never meet the potter who made it. Yet their lives touch through that simple exchange. Nearby, children weave through the crowd. Their responsibilities are lighter than those of adults, but many already contribute to household life. Some carry small bundles. Some watch younger siblings. Others run errands for parents. Childhood in ancient Egypt often blends gradually into adulthood. Skills are learned early. Responsibilities grow slowly over time. There is rarely a clear dividing line. A child who helps gather water today may carry full jars independently a few years later. Learning happens through participation, through observation, through daily experience. Beyond the market, workshops remain busy. A stone worker sits beneath a shaded area carefully shaping a piece of limestone. Fine dust covers his hands. Tiny fragments fall with each measured strike. The work demands concentration. One careless movement could damage many hours of effort. Nearby, a sculptor smooths the surface of a larger piece. The stone feels cool despite the warmth of the afternoon. Progress comes slowly. Yet slow work often produces the finest results. Egypt's craftsmen understand patience. They know that quality cannot be rushed. Across the settlement, a weaver continues working at her loom. The steady rhythm fills the room. Thread passes through thread. Pattern grows from repetition. Light enters through a small opening and falls across the unfinished cloth. Dust floats lazily through the warm air. The sounds of the village drift in from outside. Voices. Footsteps. Animals. Distant laughter. Everyday life surrounds the workshop. The weaver hardly notices anymore. These sounds have accompanied her work for years. In many ways, they are as familiar as the loom itself. As the sun moves lower, families begin preparing for the evening meal. This preparation often starts long before people return home. Fires must be lit. Ingredients gathered. Bread prepared. Water carried. Meals require effort. Nothing appears instantly. Every meal represents planning and labor. Inside one home, a woman kneads dough while speaking quietly with her daughter. The younger girl watches carefully. She has seen this process many times. Still, she pays attention. One day she will perform these same tasks herself. The knowledge passes naturally between generations. Not through formal instruction, but through shared experience. Through countless ordinary afternoons spent together. Nearby, another household prepares fish caught earlier that morning. The smell drifts into the street. Neighbors recognize it immediately. Familiar scents move through the village every evening. Bread baking. Fish roasting. Onions cooking. Smoke from small fires. Together they create the atmosphere of home. As daylight softens, workers begin leaving the fields. Tools are gathered. Animals are led toward shelters. Conversations become more frequent. The pressure of labor begins to ease. The journey home feels different from the journey out in the morning. At sunrise, people often walk with purpose and anticipation. By evening, they walk with fatigue and satisfaction. Their bodies are tired. Their clothes are dusty. Yet there is comfort in knowing the day's responsibilities have been met. The roads fill with returning workers. Sandals brush against dry earth. Dust hangs in the golden light. Long shadows stretch ahead of them. Children waiting near the edges of the village spot familiar figures approaching. Some run forward excitedly. Others simply smile. Small reunions happen throughout the settlement. The day slowly folds itself into evening. Along the Nile, fishermen return as well. Their boats move quietly toward shore. Nets are inspected. Fish are sorted. Some catches are plentiful. Others are modest. Such variations are accepted as part of life. The river provides much, but not always equally. Experience teaches patience. A poor day does not necessarily mean a poor week. A good day does not guarantee future success. The river follows its own rhythms. Those who depend upon it learn to do the same. The sun now approaches the horizon. Golden light spreads across the valley. The color touches everything. Fields glow softly. Mud brick walls seem warmer. The surface of the Nile shines like polished metal. Even the dust in the air appears beautiful. This is one of the quietest transitions of the day. Work gives way to rest. Activity gives way to reflection. The pace of life slows. Inside homes, families gather together. The evening meal becomes an important moment. Not because the food is elaborate. Often it is simple. Bread, vegetables, fish, dates, beer brewed from grain. Yet what matters most is the gathering itself. Family members sit together after spending much of the day apart. Stories are shared. News is exchanged. Problems are discussed. Plans are made. Children speak about what they learned. Adults talk about crops, markets, repairs, or neighbors. The meal nourishes more than the body. It strengthens the bonds that hold households together. After eating, some people continue working for a little while. Clothing may need mending. Tools may require repair. Nets may need attention before tomorrow's fishing. A farmer sharpens a blade by fading light. A fisherman knots a damaged section of net. A mother folds cloth and organizes supplies. The day's labor may be ending, but small responsibilities remain. Yet these tasks feel different now. There is no blazing sun overhead. No pressure from approaching midday heat. Evening allows people to work more slowly, more comfortably. As darkness gradually spreads across the valley, lamps begin appearing. Small flames flicker inside homes. Their light dances across walls and ceilings. Shadows move softly. Outside, the first stars emerge overhead. One by one they appear. Then dozens. Then hundreds. The sky becomes a vast canopy of light. Many people step outside for a few moments before sleep. The night air feels pleasant after the heat of the day. Conversations continue quietly. Neighbors sit near doorways. Children grow drowsy. Animals settle into silence. The village becomes calmer with every passing hour. The sounds of labor have disappeared completely now. Only occasional voices drip through the darkness. Somewhere a baby cries briefly before falling quiet. Somewhere a dog barks at a distant sound. Somewhere a fisherman checks his boat one last time. Above it all, the stars watch silently. The same stars seen by countless generations before. The same stars that shine above the river night after night. As the evening deepens, many families prepare for sleep. Mats are arranged. Blankets are spread. Some choose to sleep indoors. Others climb onto flat rooftops where cooler air moves more freely. The heat stored in walls slowly escapes into the night. A gentle breeze drifts across the valley. It carries the scent of water and earth. The scent of reeds growing along the Nile. The scent of a civilization built not only by kings and monuments, but by ordinary people living ordinary days. And as homes grow quiet one after another, the hidden structure of ancient Egyptian life settles once more into peaceful darkness, while the river continues flowing beneath the moonlight, carrying its endless waters through the sleeping land. The moon climbs higher above the Nile. Its pale light drifts across quiet rooftops and narrow village paths. The day's warmth still lingers within the mud brick walls, but the air has become gentler now. A cool breeze moves across the water. Reeds whisper softly along the shoreline. The river glimmers beneath the stars. Most of Egypt is asleep. The farmer who spent the day tending irrigation channels rests beside his family. The fisherman who rose before dawn lies beneath a simple blanket. The potter who shaped clay vessels throughout the afternoon has finally closed his tired eyes. Across the valley, thousands of ordinary people drift through sleep. Their lives may be different in small ways. Their homes may vary in size. Their work may follow different routines. Yet all are connected by the same quiet rhythm. The river. The seasons. The rising sun. The setting sun. The endless cycle of labor and rest. As midnight passes, silence settles more deeply over the land. The markets stand empty. Workshops are dark. The roads that bustled with activity only hours before now belong to shadows and moonlight. A stray dog wanders through a narrow lane. Its footsteps are barely audible. A small owl perches upon a wall and watches the darkness. Somewhere beyond the village, a donkey shifts quietly in its shelter. These are the sounds of Egypt at night. Soft. Scattered. Unhurried. For a little while, the world seems suspended between one day and the next. The Nile alone never pauses. Its waters continue moving northward. The river has flowed this way for generations beyond counting. It flowed before the oldest villagers were born. It will continue long after their grandchildren become old. Many Egyptians think of the river almost as a living presence. Not a person. Not a creature. But something constant. Something dependable. A companion that remains while human lives come and go. A child grows into an adult. An adult becomes elderly. Families change. Villages expand. Fields shift slightly over time. Yet the Nile continues its steady journey through the valley. Hours pass. The stars will slowly overhead. The eastern horizon remains dark for now. But eventually, the first signs of dawn begin their quiet approach. The change is gradual. Almost invisible. The deepest darkness begins to soften. A faint gray light touches the edge of the world. Birds remain silent. Most people still sleep. Yet the night is already beginning to retreat. In one village, a woman wakes before everyone else. She sits quietly for a moment. The room is dim. The air feels cool against her skin. Nearby, her children remain asleep. Outside, only a few distant sounds can be heard. This brief period before dawn is often one of the calmest moments of the day. Responsibilities have not yet arrived. The noise of activity has not yet begun. For a few precious minutes, there is only stillness. Soon she rises. Her feet touch the packed earth floor. She moves carefully through the house. A grinding stone waits nearby. Grain must be prepared. Breakfast must be made. The household will soon awaken. Elsewhere, a baker is already at work. A small fire flickers within the darkness. Its warm glow illuminates the walls of the baking area. The baker's hands move confidently. He has performed these tasks thousands of times. Mixing. Kneading. Preparing dough. The motions require little thought now. They belong to memory. To habit. To experience gathered over many years. Outside, the village remains mostly silent. But slowly, signs of life begin appearing. A door opens. A figure steps outside. Another lamp glows briefly. The hidden structure of daily life is awakening once again. As dawn approaches, the sky brightens. The stars begin fading. A faint band of gold appears in the east. Birds emerge from the reeds. Their calls drift across the water. The Nile reflects the changing colors of the sky. Mist rises gently from the river's surface. The valley feels fresh and peaceful. For many workers, these early hours are the most pleasant. The air is cool. The light is soft. Energy feels renewed after a night of rest. A farmer walks toward his fields carrying simple tools. His sandals leave faint marks in the dust. Ahead of him, the land stretches toward the river. The crops appear calm beneath the morning light. Water glitters within irrigation channels. The scent of moist soil fills the air. He pauses for a moment. Not because there is nothing to do. There is always work waiting. But because the morning itself feels beautiful. Simple. Quiet. Steady. Then he continues onward. Throughout Egypt, countless others are beginning their day in similar ways. A fisherman untangles his nets. A potter prepares fresh clay. A merchant organizes goods for the market. A weaver settles before a loom. A servant fills water jars. A scribe gathers writing materials. Each person enters the day through familiar routines. The routines differ. The rhythm remains the same. As sunlight spreads across the valley, the villages come alive. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Children emerge sleepily from their homes. Animals begin moving through the streets. Voices grow more frequent. The stillness of dawn gradually transforms into the steady activity of morning. Near the riverbank, women carry water jars balanced carefully upon their heads. The path to the Nile is well worn. Thousands of footsteps have shaped it over generations. The task itself is physically demanding. A full jar is heavy. The journey may need to be repeated several times each day. Yet water remains essential. Every household depends upon it. For drinking. For cooking. For cleaning. For life itself. The women move with practiced balance. Their bodies know the work. Their muscles have adapted to it. Nearby, children sometimes accompany them, learning through observation. Watching. Helping. Growing into responsibilities that will one day become their own. The morning continues to unfold. Markets begin filling with merchants and customers. The atmosphere is lively but not hurried. People greet neighbors. Exchange news. Discuss weather conditions. Talk about crops. Arrange trades. The market serves many purposes. It is a center of commerce. A center of information. A center of social life. The sounds blend together into a gentle rhythm. Voices. Footsteps. Animals. The movement of goods. The rustle of baskets. The creak of wooden carts. Life flows through the marketplace much like water flows through the Nile. Steady. Continuous. Essential. Not far away, inside a workshop, a carpenter begins shaping a piece of wood. Wood is valuable in Egypt. Large trees are not common throughout much of the landscape. Every piece of timber is useful. Nothing is wasted. The carpenter studies the grain carefully. Then he begins working. Small curls of wood fall to the floor. The scent fills the room. Slowly, a simple stool begins to take shape. The process is patient. Measured. There is no need for speed. Good work emerges from attention. Not haste. Across the village, another craftsman repairs tools used by farmers. A damaged handle. A worn blade. A cracked piece of equipment. Such repairs are important. Tools represent labor. They represent productivity. A broken tool can make work much harder. So maintenance becomes part of everyday life. Nothing useful is discarded casually. Objects are repaired, adjusted, used again. This habit appears throughout Egyptian society. Resources are valuable. Effort matters. People learn to care for what they possess. As the sun climbs higher, temperatures begin rising. The cool comfort of morning gradually fades. Workers feel the change. Sweat forms upon foreheads. Clothing grows warmer. Shadows begin shrinking. The day is entering its next stage. Yet work continues. A farmer bends over rows of crops. A fisherman checks traps along the river. A merchant arranges goods beneath a shaded canopy. A weaver continues the slow rhythm of the loom. Each person contributes in ways both large and small. Most will never have monuments built in their honor. Most will never see their names carved into stone. History often remembers rulers. But civilizations are carried forward by ordinary people. By hands that plant seeds. By hands that shape clay. By hands that bake bread. By hands that repair roofs and carry water. The hidden structure of ancient Egyptian life rests upon countless such hands. And as the sun rises steadily over the fertile valley, illuminating fields, workshops, boats, and homes, another ordinary day unfolds beside the Nile, woven together by routines so familiar that they seem almost invisible, yet strong enough to support one of the most enduring civilizations the world has ever known. The morning grows older. Sunlight spreads fully across the Nile Valley. The cool freshness that arrived with dawn slowly gives way to warmth. Shadows shorten little by little. The air becomes brighter. The sounds of daily life become more numerous. Across the villages and towns of Egypt, ordinary people move through familiar routines that have been repeated for generations. A farmer pauses beside an irrigation channel. The water moves quietly past him. It reflects the blue sky above and the green crops nearby. For a moment he watches the flow. The channel may seem simple, but it represents countless hours of labor. Someone dug it. Someone maintained it. Someone repaired it after floods or storms. Without these channels, much of the fertile land would struggle to support crops. The hidden structure of Egypt is built not only from people, but from systems carefully maintained over many lifetimes. Nearby, several workers clear mud that has gathered along the edges of a canal. Their tools move steadily. The work is repetitive. Yet it is important. Water must reach the fields. Every channel forms part of a larger network. Every network supports harvests. Every harvest supports families. The connections stretch outward in every direction. A task completed here may affect people many miles away. The workers may never think about such things. They simply perform the labor before them. But together, their efforts help sustain an entire society. As the sun climbs higher, activity increases along the river. Small boats travel between communities. Some carry baskets filled with produce. Others transport pottery, cloth, or fish. A few carry passengers making short journeys to neighboring settlements. The river remains busy throughout much of the year. Its waters serve as roads, bridges, and pathways all at once. A boatman stands near the stern of his vessel. His skin is darkened by years beneath the sun. His hands are strong. The river is his workplace. His knowledge comes from observation. He understands the currents. He understands the winds. He notices changes in water levels. Experience has taught him things that no written record could fully capture. The river speaks through movement. The boatman has spent years learning its language. Along the shoreline, fishermen continue their work. Some cast nets. Others check traps placed earlier. The smell of water fills the air. Birds circle overhead. Occasionally one dives toward the surface before rising again. The fishermen move with patience. Fishing rewards careful attention. Rushing rarely helps. The river offers its gifts according to its own rhythm. The fishermen accept this. Many aspects of Egyptian life encourage patience. Crops take time to grow. Clay takes time to dry. Buildings take time to construct. Children take time to learn. The seasons themselves move slowly. Life teaches people to think in longer cycles. Back in the settlements, workshops hum with activity. The sound is not loud. Rather, it is a collection of many small noises. The scrape of tools. The tap of stone. The creak of wood. The rustle of woven fibers. The voices of craftsmen speaking quietly as they work. Inside a pottery workshop, shelves are lined with finished vessels. Some are large enough to store grain. Others are small enough to fit comfortably in one hand. The potter sits before his wheel. The clay feels cool against his fingers. Outside, the day grows warmer. Inside, the work continues at a steady pace. His hands move with confidence. Years of practice have taught him exactly how much pressure to apply. Exactly when to adjust the shape. Exactly when to stop. A vessel slowly rises from the spinning clay. It begins as a simple lump of earth. Soon it becomes something useful. Something that may serve a family for years. The transformation feels almost quiet. Almost ordinary. Yet it is a skill developed through dedication and patience. Not far away, a group of weavers work together beneath a shaded structure. Threads stretch across wooden frames. Light filters through the roof above. The rhythm of weaving creates its own gentle music. Back and forth. Again and again. Hour after hour. The cloth grows slowly. Patterns emerge. The work requires concentration. A moment of carelessness can create mistakes that are difficult to correct. The weavers focus on their task. Their hands rarely stop moving. Outside, children pass by carrying small bundles for their families. They glance toward the workshop before continuing on their way. Learning often begins with observation. Children watch the adults around them. They absorb skills without realizing it. They learn by helping. By participating. By spending years within the routines of their community. Many of the lessons that shape Egyptian life are never formally taught. They become part of daily existence. As the morning approaches midday, the heat strengthens. The sunlight becomes sharper. Dusty roads begin to shimmer. Animals seek shade whenever possible. Workers drink water carefully. People understand the importance of preserving their energy. The climate demands respect. A laborer carrying bricks adjusts his pace. There is no benefit in exhausting himself too early. He has many hours remaining in the day. Around him, other builders work steadily. Mud bricks are stacked nearby. The walls of a new structure gradually rise. The process is slow. One brick. Then another. Then another. The building grows through repetition. Through persistence. Much of Egypt is built this way. Not through sudden bursts of activity, but through countless small efforts added together over time. Nearby, an older worker offers advice to a younger laborer. The younger man listens carefully. Experience carries value. The older worker understands the challenges of heat. He understands how to pace himself. How to lift properly. How to avoid unnecessary strain. Knowledge passes from one generation to the next through conversations like this. Quietly. Naturally. Without ceremony. As the sun reaches its highest point, much of the valley slows. The heat settles heavily across the landscape. The fields seem quieter. The roads become less crowded. Even the animals move more slowly. This is the time of day when shade becomes especially precious. Workers gather wherever relief can be found. Beneath trees. Beside walls. Under simple shelters. Meals are shared. Bread is broken into pieces. Water jars are passed around. Conversation remains calm. Nobody speaks loudly. The heat encourages stillness. A farmer sits beside several companions. They eat together while looking out across the fields. The crops sway gently in the breeze. The irrigation channels glisten beneath the sunlight. For a little while, there is no urgency. Only rest. Only the simple comfort of sitting in the shade. Across the valley, similar scenes unfold everywhere. A fisherman rests beside his boat. A potter sits near the entrance of his workshop. A merchant relaxes beneath a canopy while waiting for customers. These brief pauses become important parts of the day. The body requires recovery. The mind welcomes stillness. Life in ancient Egypt is filled with labor, but it is also filled with moments of quiet observation. Moments when people simply exist within the landscape around them. The Nile continues flowing. The wind continues moving through the reeds. The sun continues crossing the sky. And ordinary people continue living their ordinary lives. As afternoon approaches, activity gradually resumes. Workers return to their tasks. Markets become busier again. The village pathways fill with movement. The hidden structure of society awakens from its midday pause. Near the center of one settlement, a scribe sits within a shaded room. Papyrus sheets lie neatly arranged before him. His work differs greatly from that of the farmers and builders outside. Yet he is connected to them all. He records deliveries of grain. He tracks supplies stored in warehouses. He notes the movement of goods and resources. His reed pen moves carefully across the page. Symbols appear one after another. The work demands attention. Mistakes are unwelcome. The room is quiet except for the faint scratching of the pen. Nearby, an apprentice studies the records. He hopes to become skilled one day. His training requires patience. Just as a farmer learns the land and a fisherman learns the river, the apprentice must learn the language of writing. Every profession contains its own challenges. Every profession requires effort. Outside the administrative building, life continues beneath the bright afternoon sun. Merchants negotiate prices. Children play briefly before being called back to household duties. Donkeys carry loads through the streets. The smell of baking bread drifts from nearby homes preparing for the evening. Small details combine to create the atmosphere of daily life. Dust floating through sunlight. Sandals brushing against stone. Water splashing into clay jars. Voices echoing softly between walls. These are the sounds and sights experienced by millions of people across centuries of Egyptian history. Yet history often leaves them unrecorded. It remembers kings. It remembers monuments. It remembers victories and ceremonies. But the true foundation of Egypt exists here. In the ordinary afternoon. In the worker repairing a tool. In the mother preparing a meal. In the child carrying water. In the fisherman untangling a net. In the farmer inspecting his crops beneath the sun. As the day slowly moves forward, the shadows begin to lengthen once more. The light softens. The harsh brilliance of midday gradually fades. Workers notice the change. Relief approaches again. Evening waits beyond the fields and rooftops. And throughout the Nile Valley, countless ordinary people continue their patient routines, carrying forward the hidden structure of ancient Egyptian life one small task at a time, while the river flows steadily beside them beneath the warm desert sky. The afternoon slowly leans toward evening. The sun remains bright, but its light has softened. The sharp edge of midday has passed. Across the Nile Valley, workers continue their tasks beneath a sky that now seems gentler than it did only a few hours before. A warm breeze drifts across the fields. It carries the scent of moist earth from the irrigation channels and the faint sweetness of growing crops. The reeds along the river sway quietly. Palm leaves rustle overhead. The landscape itself seems to exhale. For many people, this is the most pleasant part of the working day. The hardest heat has faded. The body still feels tired, but movement comes more easily. A farmer walks slowly along the edge of his field. He studies the plants carefully. Some stand tall and healthy. Others require attention. His eyes notice small details that many others would miss. A slight change in color. A patch of soil that seems too dry. The shape of leaves moving in the wind. Years of experience have taught him to observe. The land speaks through subtle signs. The farmer has spent most of his life learning how to listen. Nearby, several children help with simple tasks. One gathers loose bundles of reeds. Another carries a small basket. Their responsibilities are modest for now. Yet each year they learn more. Ancient Egyptian life depends upon this gradual transfer of knowledge. There are no classrooms waiting for most children. The village itself becomes the classroom. The fields become teachers. The river becomes a teacher. Parents become teachers. Daily life provides the lessons. The hidden structure of society remains strong because every generation passes its knowledge to the next. Along the riverbank, fishermen prepare for the final hours of work before sunset. The water glows softly beneath the afternoon light. Small waves lap against wooden boats. Nets dry upon poles near the shore. A fisherman sits repairing a damaged section. His fingers move carefully through the tangled fibers. The task requires patience. One broken section may seem unimportant. Yet a damaged net can mean lost fish. Lost fish can mean less food. Small repairs prevent larger problems. This understanding appears throughout Egyptian life. People maintain what they have. Tools are repaired. Walls are repaired. Boats are repaired. Clothing is repaired. The effort spent preserving something is often far less than the effort required to replace it. As the fisherman works, he occasionally looks toward the river. The Nile reflects the sky in shifting colors of blue and gold. Birds move above the water. Some glide silently. Others call out before disappearing into the reeds. The river feels peaceful. It always feels alive. Even during its quietest moments. Further inland, the workshops remain busy. The sounds drifting from them are familiar to everyone in the settlement. The tapping of stone. The scraping of wood. The turning of pottery wheels. The steady rhythm of weaving. Together these sounds form the background music of daily life. Inside one workshop, a carpenter wipes dust from a nearly completed stool. The wood feels smooth beneath his hand. The object is simple. Useful. Practical. Yet it represents many hours of careful labor. Nothing appears instantly in ancient Egypt. Almost every object passes through someone's hands. Someone gathers the materials. Someone shapes them. Someone transports them. Someone eventually uses them. Every item has a story hidden inside it. The carpenter studies his work for a moment before returning to it. The day is not yet finished. There is still time to make progress before darkness arrives. Nearby, a potter removes finished vessels from a drying area. The clay has hardened beneath the sun. Rows of jars stand quietly beside one another. Some are destined for homes. Others for storehouses. Others may travel by boat to distant settlements. The potter does not know where each vessel will end up. Yet his work will become part of many lives. A jar may hold grain for a farming family. It may store water during the hottest months. It may preserve food for future use. Simple objects often carry great importance. Their value lies not in decoration but in usefulness. As afternoon continues, activity increases within household courtyards. The evening meal requires preparation. Women begin gathering ingredients. Children help where they can. The smell of bread gradually returns to the air. Throughout Egypt, bread remains one of the most familiar parts of daily life. Its preparation is labor-intensive. The grain must first be grown, then harvested, then stored, then ground into flour. Only after all this can baking begin. Every loaf represents the combined effort of many people. A woman kneels beside a grinding stone. The movement is steady and repetitive. Her hands know the task well. She has performed it thousands of times. The stone produces a familiar sound. A quiet scraping rhythm that echoes through countless homes every day. Nearby, another woman shapes dough. A small child watches with curiosity. The child is too young to help much. Yet learning has already begun. Observation often comes before participation. Participation comes before mastery. This is how knowledge survives. Not through grand announcements, but through countless ordinary moments shared within families. As the sun lowers further, workers begin turning their thoughts toward home. The fields slowly empty. The workshops become less busy. The markets begin to quiet. People finish final tasks before evening arrives. A farmer gathers his tools. A merchant covers goods that will remain overnight. A fisherman secures his boat. The pace of life gradually slows. Dust rises from the roads as workers begin their journey home. The golden light of late afternoon settles across the valley. Mud-brick walls glow warmly. Palm trees cast long shadows. The river shines like polished metal. Many people consider this the most beautiful part of the day. The intense brightness has faded. The heat has softened. Everything appears calmer, gentler. The landscape seems to rest even before the people do. Along one road, several farmers walk together. Their conversation is quiet. The day has left them tired. Still, there is comfort in shared company. The work of farming can be difficult. Yet it is rarely done alone. Families cooperate. Neighbors assist one another. Communities depend upon cooperation. No household exists completely by itself. The hidden structure of Egyptian life is strengthened by countless relationships. People exchange labor, share information, offer assistance during difficult times. These connections help villages remain stable through changing seasons. As evening approaches, the village begins to transform. Smoke rises from cooking fires. The smell of bread becomes stronger. So does the scent of roasting fish and cooked vegetables. Children who spent much of the day helping with chores now find moments to play. Their laughter drifts through narrow streets. Dogs wander between homes. Donkeys return from work. The entire settlement seems to shift from labor toward rest. Inside one home, a family gathers around the evening meal. The room is modest. The walls are simple. A lamp flickers softly nearby. The food itself is not elaborate. Yet it is welcomed with gratitude. The day's work has created hunger. The meal provides comfort. Family members exchange stories. They discuss the fields, the market, the river, the weather, the small events that filled the day. These conversations may seem ordinary, yet they form an important part of life. Families remain connected through shared experiences. Children learn by listening. Older relatives pass on memories. The household becomes a place of learning as much as a place of rest. Outside, darkness gradually spreads across the valley. The western sky glows orange, then red, then purple. The first stars begin to appear. One by one. Then dozens. Then hundreds. The transition is slow. Peaceful. The noise of daytime activity continues to fade. The roads become quieter. Workshops close. Markets empty. The sounds of labor disappear into the night. Only the gentle noises of evening remain. Voices speaking softly. A distant animal calling. The crackle of a cooking fire. The movement of water along the riverbank. Above it all, the stars shine brightly. Without artificial light, the night sky appears immense. Its beauty is familiar to every generation living beside the Nile. Children gaze upward. Adults pause briefly to look. The same stars watched their ancestors. The same stars will watch their descendants. The sky becomes another constant presence in Egyptian life. Much like the river itself. As darkness deepens, families begin preparing for sleep. Some remain indoors. Others climb onto rooftops where cooler air flows more freely. The heat stored within the earth slowly escapes. A pleasant breeze moves through the village. People stretch tired muscles. The labor of the day settles heavily into their bodies. Yet there is satisfaction in that tiredness. The fields were tended. The nets were repaired. The bread was baked. The tools were maintained. The countless small responsibilities of daily life were completed. And so, beneath a sky filled with stars, beside the endlessly flowing Nile, ordinary Egyptians settle into another peaceful night, while the hidden structure of their world continues quietly around them, held together not by grand monuments or royal ceremonies, but by the steady work, shared knowledge, and patient routines of countless unseen lives. The night air drifts gently through the Nile Valley. The heat of the day has faded into memory. Mudbrick walls release the warmth they gathered beneath the sun. A cool breeze moves through narrow streets and across flat rooftops where many families now sleep beneath the stars. The village is quiet. Not completely silent. A place filled with people is never entirely silent. But the sounds are soft now. Far softer than they were during the busy hours of daylight. A donkey shifts in its shelter. A dog barks once in the distance. The reeds beside the river whisper as the breeze passes through them. And beneath it all, steady and patient as ever, the Nile continues to flow. A fisherman sleeps lightly upon a rooftop. Nearby, his nets hang neatly folded after being repaired earlier in the evening. Tomorrow they will return to the water. Tomorrow the river will once again provide the rhythm of his day. For now, his body rests. His hands are still. The muscles in his shoulders slowly recover from many years of labor. Across Egypt, countless workers experience the same quiet relief. Builders, farmers, weavers, potters, merchants, servants, scribes. Each person carries the marks of daily effort. The body remembers work. The hands remember work. The mind remembers work. Night offers a chance to recover before another sunrise arrives. Above the valley, the stars seem endless. The sky stretches from one horizon to the other without interruption. Many Egyptians spend much of their lives beneath this vast canopy. They know the appearance of certain stars. They recognize seasonal changes in the night sky. Without realizing it, they become careful observers of the heavens. The sky accompanies every stage of life. Children see it. Adults work beneath it. Elders rest beneath it. Generations pass while the stars remain. Hours drift quietly through the darkness. The moon slowly crosses the sky. Its light glimmers upon the surface of the Nile. Silver reflections ripple across the water. Along the riverbanks, reeds sway softly. Small animals move through the shadows. The world belongs to different creatures at night. Birds that filled the air during daylight now rest among branches and reeds. Other animals emerge in their place. Yet even these movements feel calm. Nothing disturbs the peaceful rhythm of the valley. In one home, an elderly woman wakes briefly during the night. She listens. The village is quiet. The cool air feels pleasant. For a moment she remembers years long gone. She remembers seasons of flooding. Harvests both good and poor. Children growing older. Neighbors who once lived nearby. Life in ancient Egypt often unfolds within the same community for many years. People become deeply familiar with their surroundings. They know every pathway, every field, every bend in the river, every household. Memories become attached to places. A tree may remind someone of childhood. A canal may remind them of years spent working beside family members. A simple road may hold decades of stories. The elderly woman closes her eyes again. Soon she returns to sleep. The night continues. Slowly, almost invisibly, darkness begins moving toward dawn. The stars remain visible, but their brilliance softens slightly. The eastern horizon grows pale. The first signs of a new day appear. The transition is gradual. No sudden change announces the arrival of morning. The world simply brightens little by little. A bird calls from somewhere near the river. Then another answers. The sounds of waking life begin returning. A baker rises from sleep. His day always starts early. Long before most villagers open their eyes, he is already preparing for work. He moves quietly through the darkness. The house remains still. Outside, only a few scattered lamps glow. Soon a fire flickers to life. Its warm light dances across the walls. The baker begins preparing dough. His hands move confidently. The process feels almost automatic now. Years of repetition have made every movement familiar. Mixing, kneading, shaping, waiting. The rhythm never changes very much. Yet there is comfort in that familiarity. Across the village, a woman wakes and begins grinding grain. The scraping sound of stone against grain becomes one of the first noises of the morning. Soon other homes join in. One grinding stone. Then another. Then another. The village slowly awakens through a collection of small sounds. Doors opening. Footsteps moving through courtyards. Water jars being lifted. Animals stirring from sleep. The hidden structure of daily life begins working once more. As dawn spreads across the valley, the Nile takes on a pale golden glow. Mist rises from the water. The river appears almost dreamlike beneath the soft morning light. Fishermen walk toward the shore carrying nets over their shoulders. Their silhouettes move quietly against the brightening sky. The path is familiar. They know every step. Some have followed this route nearly every day of their adult lives. The routine feels natural, comfortable. The river waits as it always does. Nearby, farmers begin moving toward the fields. Their tools rest upon their shoulders. The cool morning air makes the walk pleasant. Soon enough, the heat will return. For now, the valley feels fresh and calm. Birds fly above the irrigation channels. The scent of moist soil rises from the earth. Water glimmers between rows of crops. The day is young. Possibility stretches ahead. A farmer pauses beside a field and studies the plants. Growth happens slowly. Sometimes so slowly that it seems invisible. Yet every day brings small changes. A little more height. A little more color. A little more maturity. The farmer understands this. Years of experience have taught him patience. The harvest does not arrive quickly. Neither does success. Most worthwhile things require time. The fields teach this lesson repeatedly. Across the settlements, craftsmen begin preparing for another day. A potter kneads clay. A carpenter arranges tools. A weaver checks threads upon a loom. Each workshop carries its own atmosphere. Its own sounds. Its own familiar routines. Inside the pottery workshop, cool clay presses between practiced fingers. Rows of finished vessels stand quietly nearby. Some are plain. Some contain decorative details. All are useful. The potter's work supports countless households. Water must be stored. Grain must be stored. Oil must be stored. Practical objects play important roles in everyday life. Yet those who create them often remain invisible to history. This is true for many workers throughout Egypt. Their names are forgotten. Their labor remains. A jar survives. A wall survives. A tool survives. The people who made them fade into time. Still, their contributions continue shaping the world around them. As the morning advances, the roads become busier. Merchants travel toward markets. Donkeys carry supplies. Children assist with errands. Servants move between households. The village fills with motion. Dust rises beneath countless footsteps. Voices drip through the air. The scent of fresh bread spreads from courtyards and bakeries. Life gathers momentum. Near the market, a merchant carefully arranges his goods. Baskets of produce stand beside jars of oil. Bundles of woven cloth rest nearby. Everything is positioned thoughtfully. Presentation matters. People like to inspect items before exchanging goods. The merchant understands this. He greets early customers. Conversations begin. News is exchanged. Stories travel alongside merchandise. Markets serve many purposes. They are places of trade. Places of social connection. Places where information spreads from village to village. A traveler may arrive carrying news from a distant settlement. Others gather to listen. Small pieces of information move through communities this way. Not through written messages for most people, but through conversation. Through memory. Through shared stories. As the sun rises higher, warmth spreads across the valley again. The cool comfort of dawn slowly disappears. Workers settle fully into their responsibilities. The day's rhythm becomes steady, predictable, reliable. The hidden structure of ancient Egyptian life is not built upon dramatic moments. It is built upon repetition. Upon ordinary actions performed consistently across years and generations. A woman carrying water. A fisherman casting a net. A child learning from a parent. A builder lifting a brick. A weaver passing thread through thread. A farmer watching the condition of his crops. These actions may seem small when viewed individually. Yet together they create something extraordinary. They create stability. They create continuity. They create a civilization capable of enduring for centuries. And as another morning unfolds beside the Nile, beneath a brightening sky and the promise of another long day, countless ordinary people continue their familiar work, adding one more day to the long, quiet story of ancient Egyptian life. The morning settles comfortably across the Nile Valley. The sun has climbed above the horizon, but it has not yet reached the fierce brightness that will arrive later in the day. For now, the light feels gentle, golden, warm without being overwhelming. The river reflects the sky like polished glass. Palm trees sway lightly in the breeze. Birds move through the reeds, calling to one another as they begin their own daily routines. Across Egypt, the day unfolds much as it has for countless generations. A farmer walks slowly along the edge of a field. The soil beneath his sandals is dark and fertile. Nearby, irrigation channels carry water through carefully planned pathways. The water moves quietly, patiently. It follows routes shaped by human hands and maintained through years of effort. The farmer pauses and kneels beside one channel. His fingers touch the damp earth. The soil feels healthy. The crops appear strong. Small observations like these guide much of his work. Success often depends upon noticing details. A slight change in moisture. A crack forming along the edge of a canal. The condition of leaves beneath the morning sun. The land is always speaking. The farmer spends his life learning how to listen. Further along the river, fishermen continue their work. The morning waters are calm. A light mist still lingers above certain sections of the Nile. Boats drift quietly through the current. The sound of an oar dipping into the water echoes softly across the river. A fisherman sits near the bow of his vessel. His net rests beside him. The rope feels rough against his hands. Years of use have worn it smooth in some places and coarse in others. His fingers know every knot, every repair, every section of the net. Tools become familiar companions when they are used every day. The fisherman trusts his net, just as the farmer trusts his tools, just as the potter trusts his wheel. The relationship between workers and their tools grows through years of shared labor. Along the shoreline, women carry water jars from the river. The task is demanding. A full jar is heavy. The walk requires balance and strength. Yet the movement appears graceful. Years of practice have made it seem almost effortless. A young girl follows beside her mother carrying a much smaller container. She watches carefully, learning, observing. One day she will perform the same task without thinking about it. For now, she studies every movement. The way the jar is lifted. The way it is balanced. The way each step is placed upon the path. Knowledge often passes silently through observation. No formal lesson is required. The work itself becomes the teacher. As the morning advances, the settlements become increasingly active. The narrow roads fill with movement. Merchants carry goods toward markets. Craftsmen open their workshops. Children run errands for their families. Voices drift through the warm air. The village feels alive. Yet nothing feels rushed. The pace remains steady, measured. Ancient Egyptian life often follows a rhythm shaped by necessity rather than speed. There is work to do. But there is also understanding. The day is long. Energy must be managed carefully. A laborer who exhausts himself during the first hours of morning may struggle later when the heat becomes more intense. Experience teaches patience. Inside a weaving workshop, sunlight filters through small openings in the walls. Dust floats gently through bright beams of light. The room is filled with the quiet rhythm of looms. Thread passes through thread. Again and again. The sound becomes soothing. Almost musical. A weaver sits with practiced concentration. Her hands move continuously. The cloth grows slowly. A few inches at a time. Progress cannot be rushed. Every thread matters. Every movement contributes to the finished piece. Nearby, another worker prepares fibers that will eventually become new thread. The process begins long before weaving itself. Like many activities in Egypt, the final product represents the combined efforts of many people. Nothing stands alone. Everything connects. Across the settlement, a potter shapes fresh clay. The workshop smells faintly of earth and water. Rows of finished vessels line the walls. Some are large storage jars. Others are small bowls. The clay turns beneath the potter's hands. A shape begins to emerge. Slowly. Steadily. The vessel rises from the spinning wheel. Its walls become thinner. Its form becomes more refined. The potter's fingers guide every change. Years of practice allow him to feel imperfections before he can even see them. The work demands attention. Yet there is something peaceful about repetition. The same motions performed thousands of times. The same quiet concentration. The same transformation of simple clay into something useful. Outside, the sun climbs higher. The shadows begin to shorten. The warmth grows stronger. Workers feel it settling across the valley. The day is moving toward its hotter hours. In the fields, farmers continue tending crops. Some pull weeds. Others repair irrigation channels. A few guide animals through tasks requiring strength and endurance. The work is physically demanding. Sweat forms on foreheads. Clothing becomes damp. Yet the labor continues. The harvest remains far away. But every harvest begins with mornings like this. With small actions repeated day after day. The fields do not reward impatience. They reward consistency. Along a dusty road, a merchant travels toward a neighboring settlement. His donkey carries baskets filled with goods. The journey is not especially long. Still, travel requires effort. The road winds through fertile land before approaching stretches of open desert. The merchant knows the route well. He has traveled it many times. Along the way, he passes farmers working beside canals. Children carrying water. Fishermen near the riverbank. The same landscape unfolds around him. Familiar. Comforting. Predictable. Many people spend most of their lives within a relatively small area. The villages nearby become their world. The river becomes their constant companion. The seasons become their calendar. As the sun approaches midday, markets grow busier. Customers move between stalls. Goods are inspected carefully. A basket of dates. Fresh vegetables. Pottery. Fish. Cloth. Oil. Every object reflects someone's labor. Someone planted the dates. Someone caught the fish. Someone shaped the pottery. Someone wove the cloth. The market gathers these efforts together in one place. The connections between people become visible. A farmer may exchange produce for tools. A fisherman may acquire cloth for his family. A potter may trade vessels for food. The entire system depends upon cooperation. No household produces everything it needs. Communities thrive because people support one another through exchange. Nearby, a scribe sits beneath shade recording information. His work is quieter than the activity surrounding him. Yet it remains important. Numbers must be tracked. Records must be maintained. The movement of goods must be noted. His reed pen glides across papyrus. Symbols appear one after another. The process requires concentration. A mistake could create confusion later. The scribe's apprentice watches carefully. Learning. Observing. Much like the young girl carrying water beside her mother. Much like the child helping in the fields. Knowledge travels through observation throughout Egyptian society. Different professions. Different skills. The same pattern. As midday approaches, the heat becomes increasingly noticeable. The sunlight brightens. The roads shimmer faintly. Animals begin searching for shade. Workers prepare for the slower pace that often arrives during the hottest part of the day. A farmer wipes sweat from his forehead and glances toward a nearby tree. Soon there will be time for a brief rest. A fisherman adjusts the position of his boat to take advantage of a small patch of shade. A merchant drinks carefully from a water jar. The climate shapes behavior. People learn to work with it rather than against it. The hidden structure of Egyptian life is not only built around human routines. It is built around the rhythms of nature itself. The river. The seasons. The sunlight. The heat. All influence how people live. All influence how communities function. And as the sun continues its steady climb through the sky, casting its light across fields, villages, workshops, and riverbanks, the ordinary people of ancient Egypt continue their daily work with patience and quiet determination, carrying forward the routines that have shaped their world for generations and will continue to shape it for generations yet to come. The afternoon heat settles over the Nile Valley. The bright morning has passed. The sun now hangs high above the fields, pouring light across the land. The river continues to shine. The water moves slowly beneath the endless sky. The landscape seems to pause beneath the warmth. Even the breeze feels quieter. For many people, this is the moment when the day becomes most difficult. The body feels the weight of the hours already spent working. Hands become tired. Feet become sore. Shoulders carry the memory of every task completed since sunrise. Yet the valley does not stop. Life continues gently, patiently, as it always has. A farmer sits beneath the shade of a palm tree. His tools rest beside him. For a short while, he allows himself to be still. The shade is precious. The breeze is welcome. He drinks from a clay jar that has kept the water cool. The jar itself is a small example of the hidden work supporting daily life. Someone shaped the clay. Someone dried it in the sun. Someone carried it to market. Someone purchased it. Now it provides comfort during the hottest part of the day. Simple objects often carry the labor of many people. The farmer looks across the fields. The crops move softly in the wind. He knows that the plants require attention. But he also knows that patience is necessary. The land cannot be forced. The river cannot be commanded. The seasons cannot be rushed. Ancient Egyptian life teaches a quiet acceptance of time. A seed does not become a harvest overnight. A child does not become an adult in a single season. A village does not appear in one day. Everything grows gradually. Across the valley, other workers also find moments of rest. A group of builders sits near a wall they have been repairing. The bricks beside them are stacked neatly. Their hands are covered with dust. Their clothing carries the marks of labor. They speak softly among themselves. The conversation is simple. The weather. The work. The family waiting at home. The next task. The next day. The future is often considered through small steps, not through distant dreams. Daily life requires attention to the present. A brick placed correctly today. A field watered today. A net repaired today. These small actions create tomorrow's stability. Nearby, a group of laborers returns to work. The wall slowly rises. Each brick joins the previous one. The structure grows through repetition. One worker mixes mud. Another carries bricks. Another places them carefully. The work depends on cooperation. No single person creates the finished building alone. Every hand contributes. Every movement matters. This pattern appears everywhere in Egyptian society. Large achievements often emerge from many ordinary people working together. Far from the construction site, inside a shaded courtyard, a group of women prepare materials for clothing. Fibers are cleaned. Threads are arranged. Fabric is inspected. Clothing is necessary protection from the environment. The hot climate requires light materials. Garments must be comfortable. They must allow movement. A worker's clothing is not simply decoration. It is part of daily survival. The process of creating cloth requires time. The fibers must be prepared. The threads must be made. The weaving must be completed. Then the finished fabric must be shaped into clothing. Many hours of invisible work are hidden inside something as simple as a piece of cloth. The same is true for nearly everything in everyday life. A loaf of bread. A clay jar. A woven garment. A wooden tool. Each item begins with effort. Each item carries traces of human hands. As the afternoon continues, the river becomes even more important. Many people move toward the water whenever possible. The Nile offers relief. Its presence changes the air. The breeze coming across the river feels cooler. The sound of moving water creates a sense of calm. A fisherman sits near the shore repairing his boat. The wooden surface has weathered from years of use. The boat is not new, but it remains valuable. Small repairs keep it useful. A piece of wood is replaced. A gap is sealed. A damaged rope is removed. The fisherman works slowly. There is no reason to hurry. The river will still be there tomorrow. The boat will still need care. Life moves in cycles. The afternoon slowly begins its transition toward evening. The sunlight becomes less harsh. Shadows start stretching across the ground again. The air changes. People notice it. A small feeling of relief spreads through the villages. Workers who had slowed during the hottest hours begin moving with more energy. The world begins waking from its midday stillness. Markets become active again. Merchants return to their stalls. Customers appear. Conversations grow louder. The rhythm of exchange continues. A woman selects vegetables carefully. A fisherman trades part of his catch. A craftsman offers a newly finished object. The market is filled with ordinary decisions. Yet these small exchanges connect the entire community. A village is not simply a collection of homes. It is a network of relationships. People depend upon one another. The farmer depends upon the potter. The potter depends upon the farmer. The fisherman depends upon the merchant. The merchant depends upon the workers who produce goods. Everyone participates in the larger flow of life. As evening approaches, children begin returning from their small responsibilities. Some carry baskets. Some help younger siblings. Some simply run through the streets, enjoying the cooler air. Their voices add a gentle energy to the village. The adults listen. They remember their own childhoods. Many of the games children play are simple. Using small objects. Running through familiar paths. Playing near homes and fields. Entertainment does not require many possessions. Imagination creates much of childhood. A stick can become a tool. A piece of cloth can become a toy. A small space between houses can become a world of adventure. The village itself provides everything needed. The sun lowers further. The color of the valley changes. Golden light spreads across the river. The fields appear almost peaceful enough to stop moving. Workers finish their final tasks. A farmer closes a gate along an irrigation channel. A merchant covers his goods. A craftsman places tools away. The day is coming to an end. The roads fill once again with returning workers. Their steps are slower now. The body feels the accumulated weight of the day. But home is near. The smell of evening meals begins drifting through the streets. Bread. Vegetables. Fish. Herbs. Smoke from cooking fires. The village becomes wrapped in familiar scents. Inside homes, families prepare for another evening together. The walls hold the warmth of the day. The lamps are lit. The rooms become softly illuminated. A child sits beside an older relative listening to stories. The stories may be about ancestors. About distant places. About the river. About lessons learned through experience. Or simply about ordinary events. The small moments of life. A good harvest. A difficult journey. A funny mistake. A memorable day. These stories preserve the memory of people whose names may never appear in written records. They keep family histories alive. They keep communities connected. Outside, the first stars appear. The sky darkens gradually. The Nile reflects the fading light. The same river that carried workers through their days now carries the quiet reflections of evening. The village slows. The sounds become softer. The busy world of daylight begins to disappear. And as another night settles over ancient Egypt, the hidden structure of life remains quietly present everywhere, in the homes, in the fields, in the workshops, and in the hearts of ordinary people who continue their endless cycle of work, rest, family, and survival beside the ancient river. The night settles gently over the Nile Valley. The last sounds of the day slowly disappear. The workshops are quiet. The markets are empty. The fields rest beneath the moonlight. The tools of the workers have been placed aside until morning. The hands that carried bricks, shaped clay, pulled nets, planted seeds, and prepared food can finally become still. A soft breeze moves across the river. The reeds sway quietly. The water continues its slow journey through the darkness, just as it has for countless generations. Inside simple mud-brick homes, families sleep. Children rest beside their parents. Elders close their eyes and drift into peaceful dreams. The tired workers of Egypt find comfort after another day beneath the sun. Their lives were built from small moments. A loaf of bread prepared before sunrise. A basket carried along a dusty road. A boat moving gently across the Nile. A field carefully tended. A tool repaired. A story shared beside a fading lamp. These quiet actions created the hidden structure of an ancient world. The great monuments of Egypt may rise high into the sky, but beneath them lived millions of ordinary people whose daily efforts gave life its strength. They woke with the sun. They worked with the seasons. They rested with the stars. They followed the river's rhythm. And through their simple routines, they created something that lasted far beyond their own lifetimes. Now the valley grows completely still. The desert wind moves softly across the land. The moon watches over the river. The stars shine above the sleeping villages. The Nile continues flowing, carrying the memories of farmers, fishermen, builders, merchants, and families who once lived along its banks. Their voices have faded. Their footsteps have disappeared. But the quiet world they created remains in the traces they left behind. And now, as the ancient night becomes deeper and calmer, the river keeps moving gently through the darkness. The villages sleep. The fields rest. The warm desert air becomes still. And beside the endless waters of the Nile, ancient Egypt quietly drifts into silence.